Hi everyone, hope this is me actually live online. If it is, if you could maybe just post a little comment if you can see me and you can hear me. We've got another couple of minutes yet. I'm just making sure that everything is working okay. And apologies if you can hear me and you hear the noise behind me, but my family are currently serving up dinner, so I've told them to just keep a lid on it, keep a lid on it. So, hi Emma, how are you doing? So we're just going to give it another couple of minutes just to let people get online. Just to remind you that if you've not got a pencil or a notepad, nip off and get one now. Because you never know, I might actually say something quite interesting in the next hour or so that you might want to write down. Hi Sue. And for all you teachers and people who are doing online classes at the moment, total and upper respect. I have never been so nervous in all my life, and I've done some nerve-wracking things. And it's quite nerve-wracking when you see texts about your father-in-law shopping coming in at the same time that you're trying to do a live video. Hi Jill. So as I say, just give it another couple of minutes. Grab yourself a cup of tea. Hi Donna. Hi Jill. You can post me a little supportive message. Thank you. And it's true what they say about television putting on about £10. Hi Leah. Hi Christine. This is quite exciting actually, isn't it? Yeah, I'm getting into the hang of this. Yeah. Okay, so we've hit 6 o'clock. I'm just going to get started and then hopefully more people will join us in the next few minutes. Thank you all for joining me. I hope you can hear me okay. If anybody can't hear me, then please just let me know. If you've got any questions, you can ask them as we're going along. The typeface is quite small, but hopefully I'll be able to see them. If there are any complex questions that you maybe want to ask about offline, maybe relating to yourself, your own health, your own constitution, etc., I'm really happy after all this is finished to have some kind of offline conversations. Hi Alison, excellent, yeah, that's great, thank you. Hi Linda, all the way from Liverpool. So yeah, grab your pencil and your paper. If there are any questions, as I say, I'll happily try and answer them at the end or as we go along. Or if there's anything that you want to ask me afterwards, please feel free to get in touch. First of all, I have to say that this is a talk about Ayurveda and immunity. I am not medically trained. And so what I'm going to say here doesn't replace all the advice that we've already been given, such as, hand washing, social distancing, and staying in the house. As Gary Tank Commander's been telling us all, stay in the house, yeah, which I now understand is going to be for at least another 3 weeks. I'm going to keep it really simple. Obviously, I know some of you have come along to some of my Ayurveda workshops before, so you've got a little bit of knowledge about Ayurveda, but some of you, I know this will be all completely new to it, so I am going to keep it very basic, but I'm happy to go into more detail kind of later on if that kind of makes sense. And the topics that I kind of want to cover, and Ayurveda is a massive, really in-depth science, but the topics I'm going to cover today are just purely about Ayurveda in relation to immunity. So the kind of things that I'm going to talk about are healthy diet, gut health, or Agni, spices, Dravya Guna, herbal remedies, sunlight, exercise, stress, a wonderful topic called Dinacharya, which is about our daily routine, and sleep. So all of these things we go into really in depth in Ayurveda, but I'm going to touch on them quite lightly today, hopefully so that it makes sense and you can apply it to your own life. So before we kind of get into the immunity side, a little bit about background to Ayurveda. And I'm going to try and avoid looking at the screen because I find it really off-putting talking to myself. Ayurveda is made up of two Sanskrit words, Ayu and Veda. Ayu means life and Veda is sciences. So Ayurveda is the science of life. The Vedas themselves have been around for about 12,000 years. Ayurveda has been practiced as a medicine for over 5,000 years, and it was kind of first documented and written down about 3,000 years ago. So it's a very, very ancient science. And the Ayurvedic scholar that I follow is Charaka, who was one of the first founding fathers of documenting Ayurveda. And there's an absolutely wonderful Ayurvedic proverb which says, when diet is wrong, medicine is of no use. When diet is right, medicine is of no need. So in other words, if what you're putting into your body is right, then you shouldn't get sick. And that doesn't just mean the food, it also means the thing that you absorb with your eyes, that you listen to with your ears. And although it is a science, Dr. Sharma, who's the Indian doctor that I trained with in India last year, he calls it the science of common sense. And that literally is what it is. Now, a lot of the stuff that I'm going to say tonight is just that, it's common sense. But when you put it all together into a package, it just has so much more meaning. The philosophy behind Ayurveda, I'm going to touch on it because it is actually quite important. The philosophy behind Ayurveda is the concept of the universe as a mix mash of the five elements, the Panchamahabhuta. And these five elements, air, space, earth, wind, water, etc., all come together and they create what we call three constitutions, which are Vata, Pitta and Kapha. And these three constitutions, Vata, Pitta and Kapha, govern the three main functions of the body. Vata correlates to circulation, respiration, elimination, so things that move through the body. Pitta is our digestion and our metabolism, the things that burn. And Kapha is our ability to grow and repair, which also then impacts on our immunity. I'm going to come on to that in a little bit of a minute. But it's much more than a system of medicine, it's a way of life, because it's not just about what we put in our body, as I mentioned before, it's about our environment and how we move and how we breathe. And that's why it works seamlessly with yoga and having a good yoga practice. And there's lots and lots of now kind of modern research that's now turning around to say, well, actually, what these Ayurvedic sages wrote down 5,000 years ago actually makes a lot of sense, and it's now being applied in Western medicine. In fact, some of you may be aware now that in parts of India, Ayurvedic medicine is being applied in the combat against COVID-19. So below these three dosha, the Kapha, Pitta and Vata, Pitta and Kapha, are what we call three subtle essences in Ayurveda. There's prana, which correlates to Vata, which is about our circulation and our respiration and elimination. Tejas, which relates to Pitta, which is about our digestion, our metabolism, and then Ojas, which relates to Kapha. And this is our ability to grow and repair, but it's really, really important part, this is the really important subtle essence, because at the end of the digestive process of eating our food, that's when Ojas is created, and that's what builds our immune system. So I'm going to focus a little bit on Ojas tonight when we get to that part of this kind of talk tonight. And the important thing about Ojas, and the reason I'm going to focus on it, is because it is associated with our vigour, our resilience and our longevity. So it's the most important essence to talk about when we are talking about combating viruses, particularly pandemics like COVID-19. And just now to kind of touch very lightly on COVID-19, which is kind of what spurred me on to do this little talk. And Dr. Sharma has actually recorded a really good little short video sort of talk on the Ayurvedic approach and view on pandemics. And I think once you've heard this, it might be good to go back into the Facebook group, find a YouTube link and have a little listen to it. It's actually a really, really interesting viewpoint on how we got to where we are, but I'll let you find that out for yourself. So there are no cures, as far as I know, as far as MD knows, for COVID-19. But what we can do, what we have, is the inherent ability to prevent disease. And we also have the ability to help ourselves in the fighting of viruses. And we can do this by learning a lot from Ayurveda. In my personal view and in the current circumstances, we can do a lot to merge modern science with the ancient wisdom of Ayurveda. And the fundamental principle is that when our dosha are in balance, we feel great. When Vata, Pitta and Kapha are in balance, and we have all those three dosha, these three energies are in us in different kind of levels. And if you want to know what your constitution is and all that kind of good stuff, kind of get in touch with me and I'll happily kind of, look at that with you. But when your dosha are in balance, we feel great. When your dosha are out of balance, we don't feel so great, and that's what allows disease to happen. And in the fight against COVID-19 and any viruses and any disease, immunity really, really matters. And interestingly enough, 81% of people who are going to succumb to the COVID virus experience mild or moderate symptoms, and they come through it absolutely fine. So only 19% of sufferers of positive diagnosis of COVID actually have severe symptoms. And that means 4 out of 5 of us, if we contract COVID, are actually going to come through it okay. But what will impact on that greatly is how strong our immunity is. And I read a piece of research that was undertaken in March 2020 on a person who had a positive diagnosis of COVID, came through the disease, and what they noticed was that that person had an extremely large number of helper cells, immune helper cells, T cells, B cells, all these kind of good things. They were really highly active in that person's blood. And that seems to be quite typical of people who recover quickly, is that their immune systems are incredibly active, and that can help us kind of fight off those symptoms. So that's why in this kind of current situation, it seems to me even more important that we can do as much as we can to help ourselves. And there are a couple of key symptoms of COVID that I'm sure you're all aware of, so I won't go through all of them, but the two main ones are a cough and inflammation. And one of the things, and it is a hallmark of the COVID virus, and one of the things that Ayurveda has a strength in is its ability to reduce inflammation. And the reason inflammation is an important symptom of COVID is that there's a little wee molecule, a little inflammasome called, and it's actually got a name, it's NLRP3. Yeah, it's a kind of protein. And when it's activated, it causes the cell damage. And it creates inflammation in the lungs, and that's when we start to get pneumonia, or what they're calling ARDS, which is acute respiratory distress syndrome. And that's what's given us all the problems with this particular virus. So if we then turn back to, what does that all mean in kind of Ayurvedic terms? One of the founding principles of Ayurveda is that all disease begins in the gut. When we process our food, it results in the creation of 7 tissues, and I'll go into them in a little bit more detail. And the end product of the creation of those 7 tissues is ojas, this rigor, this resilience, our immune system. And ojas is compromised due to a number of things, including poor diet and lifestyle, poor lifestyle, stress, excess sugar and alcohol, and toxins in the body and in the environment. And in the progress in the pathogenesis of disease, which Ayurveda believes has 6 stages, in stage 1, that's when we have an imbalance of the dosha, which I've mentioned before, which then creates ama, which is toxins. And those toxins weaken our gut immunity. And Ayurveda states, and modern science backs it up, that 60% of our immune system is controlled by the digestive system. And if we looked at a picture of our gut, what you would see is in your stomach, we have a mucus lining. And that mucus lining basically represents a wall or a barrier which stops all the nasties and undigested food and the toxins in our digestive system from getting through into our body, where we are creating these 7 tissues. And if this wall is compromised, then bacteria gets through and inflammation happens, and that's the start of disease. And interestingly enough, way back in kind of, hunter-gatherer times, in Paleolithic days, our ancestors ate about 150 grams of fibre a day. That equates to about 20 different plant fibres a day. Over a year, it was probably about 150, 200 different plant fibres, different tubers, different roots, shoots, leaves, etc. They did eat meat, they did eat fish, but they also ate a huge amount of fibre. I should do a little competition on this, but guess how much fibre your average Western diet eats now? 15. 150 to 15. And out of that, we probably eat on average about between 8 and 10 different varieties. So not only are we eating less, we're eating less variety. And what that basically means is that the mucus lining in our stomachs doesn't have the amount of fibre it needs to sustain itself. So basically what it does is it starts eating itself. Yeah, that's a simplified way of putting it. Biochemists out there will probably have really good complicated ways of saying it, but that's what it does. Our gut lining basically starts eating itself and we have breaches in the gut wall. And that's when things like leaky gut syndrome happen, IBS, and all the kind of dietary problems that we know we have nowadays. So, when bacteria gets into the body, that then triggers autoimmune disease. And again, it's one of the biggest problems in kind of Western society are autoimmune diseases. And what then the Ayurvedic pathogenesis or disease process basically says, once it's kind of broken through into the body, the disease starts to move around the body until it finds a really weak spot. And then it kind of like nestles in and it starts to fester and it starts to grow. And if it's left unchecked, that's when it becomes chronic disease. And that's when we need serious medical intervention. So if we can kind of knock it on the head at stage 1, yeah, and have a really strong digestion and immunity system that can help process through, then we're doing ourselves a lot of favours. And, you know, we're going to help, obviously, the medical profession because we're not going to be knocking on the doctor's door quite as much. So tonight I want to look at how we can use an Ayurvedic and a yogic lifestyle and diet to combat COVID, boost our immune system. And the first thing I kind of want to look at is immune boosting foods according to Ayurveda. Okay, so first thing we're going to look at is kind of healthy diet. Okay, you all keeping up with me? Good. Okay, so tip number 1, stop eating processed foods. That was a pregnant pause, just for dramatic effect. Stop eating processed foods. Now, you have probably been one of these people. I was a little bit guilty about that. You know, my chocolate consumption and purchasing did go up a little bit when this all kind of went tits up, but you probably went out and thought, right, I need to stock up the freezer. Frozen foods, we don't like frozen foods, you know, we need to stock up, you know, tins of this, tins of that. You probably bought a lot of processed foods thinking that we're going to need it. That's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine. But as soon as you've gone through all those processed foods, replace it with healthy, fresh produce. Yeah, healthy, fresh produce. And let's face it, we have plenty of time to cook nowadays, don't we? So you can experiment in the kitchen. If you say I'm scared of cooking, you know, I don't know how many online forums I've seen now teaching you how to make sourdough bread and goodness knows what oil. So use this lockdown time to get into the kitchen, but stop eating processed foods. Next big thing to eat are leafy greens, your Savoy cabbage, your rocket, your, you know, loose leaf veg, lettuces, you know, all these kind of good things. Iceberg, maybe not so much. I don't even know what iceberg is and it doesn't certainly taste of anything. So, you know, dandelion leaves. I did a lovely dandelion and blue cheese salad the other day there. Leafy green vegetable cream prebiotics, and they also contain a huge amount of fibre. So, and flavonoids, which reduce inflammation. So get lots of leafy green vegetables into your diet. Mushrooms. Not the bulk ones, those little white things that you get, the button mushrooms that don't taste of anything apart from rubber. But yeah, we are talking about, you know, your nice mushrooms, your shiitakes, your oysters, all these kind of things. You don't need a huge amount of them. I know they're expensive, but they are incredibly good for your immune system. And they're not a classical Ayurveda food, it has to be said, but they do help to activate the immune system and they are anti-inflammatory. So again, they increase the body's good bacteria and therefore they help the mucus lining in your gut. Yeah. Cold water fish. If you're not a vegetarian, cold water fish, your salmon, your mackerel, all these kind of good things. As well as omega-3 fatty acids, which I don't need to tell you, are incredibly good for the body. They also contain selenium, which is known to support the immune system. Oh, sorry, that's my phone ringing. It always happens on a live broadcast, doesn't it? It doesn't happen to any of the BBC news readers. Anyway, so they also contain vitamins A and D, and we're going to come on to talk about vitamin D from the sunshine, but freshwater fish are one of the few foods that you can actually get vitamin D from. Okay, so cold water fish, bone broth. Remember in the good old days when you were sick, your granny always made you chicken soup. Do you remember that? She basically got the carcass of the chicken, she boiled it up with veg and all the rest of it, and she made chicken broth. That is what bone broth is. Ayurveda loves bone broth. It's incredibly nourishing. So if you've been poorly, you get given bone broth. And effectively, soaking of old bones basically brings out, gelatin. And that basically acts as a nutritive, I think is the word that I'm kind of looking for. Yeah, a nutritive. So it is incredibly kind of nourishing. Pumpkin seeds. Pumpkin seeds are one of the foods that contain an incredible amount of zinc. And zinc reduces a virus from replicating itself, from repeating itself. So it could actually prevent COVID entering the cells, you know, that inflammasome, that NLRP3, it could actually prevent that kind of getting through and penetrating. So it's really, really important to keep your zinc levels up. And you might want to Google this because I do think it's also in some fish species, and I meant to look that up before I came on. But yeah, so zinc levels, pumpkin seeds. Oranges, again, we know oranges, vitamin C levels help prevent and fight off kind of colds and flus and the severity and the frequency of colds and flus. But again, I read a piece of research and it was a Chinese doctor who was talking about patients that he had had coronavirus and had come through the other end, and they had incredibly high levels of vitamin C in their diet. And I think they are substantiating some research around this. But rather than taking these supplements and these little tablets, try to get it from fresh fruit. And I have never eaten so many oranges in my life, but the vitamin C from an orange is going to be much better for you. It's going to have the fibre in it as well, so it'll kill two birds with one stone. So yeah, try and get fresh fruit if you can. Beet greens, so the top of beetroot, absolutely delicious in salads. Not really in season yet, but you probably can buy them in supermarkets. And it's one of the top foods for detoxification in Ayurveda. But again, it's anti-inflammatory and it can inhibit the inflammasomes getting through to do their damage. Apples, yeah, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Well, we know that, but why? Well, A, there's fibre in it, we know that, so it's going to be good for your gut biome. But they also contain, the skin of the apple also contains quercetin, and I used to always peel the apples for my kids, and I wish I hadn't done that now, quercetin basically regulates the immune system, and again, it inhibits the inflammasome, so it stops this NLRP3 in its tracks. Another popular food nowadays is fermented foods. Ayurveda loves fermented foods. So your kefirs, your sauerkrauts, your kombuchas, all these kind of good things. They're prebiotic, so obviously they're good for your gut bacteria, but they also have an anti-inflammatory effect, which is obviously one of the symptoms of COVID. Doesn't matter which fermented food you take, 1 to 2 spoonfuls a day. The important thing is that you have to keep the microbiome levels up. So having it every single day. It's no good having it for a couple of days and then, you know, the kefir sits in the fridge for a week and then you don't go near it. Every single day. Build up your immunity. And last but not least in my kind of top 10 list is apple cider vinegar, or the creme de la creme of vinegars, fire cider vinegar. And again, those of you who know me and come to my Ayurveda classes and my yoga classes know that I absolutely love and worship fire cider vinegar. It keeps your digestive fire strong. It keeps your agni strong. And it also has almost like a kind of mild weight loss effect because you are burning your food better. But that's not what's important here. You can take it neat, that's what I do in the morning. I just take a couple of spoonfuls, or you can take it with about 8 ounces of kind of warm water in and just neck it that way. And that's going to really help to keep your digestive fire. Yeah, your digestive fire, as I mentioned before, and some of you are familiar with this, is your agni. Yeah, your digestive fire. Agni basically just means fire. And any imbalance in your Agni creates ama, which is toxin, which creates disease. Okay, so there are some really, really simple ways that you can keep your Agni strong. And again, there's another Ayurvedic proverb, which I can't remember exactly off by heart, but basically it says that you should be able to eat poison, and if your Agni is working properly, it should go right through your system and not cause you any harm. I doubt very much any of us are at that stage, and please don't try that out at home because yeah, I don't think my insurance will cover that. Okay, but it does mean that if you've got bad things coming into your body, if your digestion is really, really strong, it should be able to deal with it. Yeah, okay, so here are some things that you can do to stoke your Agni. In the morning, I normally just have a cup of warm water. Yeah, but during the time of a pandemic, what's really, really nice is to put some lemon into it, to put some honey into it, and 1 teaspoon of either apple cider vinegar or fire cider vinegar if you have it. Knock it back, okay, and that's going to kickstart your digestion in the morning. Tongue scraping. Yeah, one of these things, or you can actually buy them. They look a bit like razors, but make sure you don't get them mixed up in, like, you know, B&M, Pound Store, things like that. Other stores are available. And basically just 2 or 3 scrapes of your tongue in the morning is enough, and you'll be amazed what actually comes off into this. And what that basically does is it stimulates your tongue, but it also gives your gastrointestinal tract a little bit of a massage, so it starts to get everything going. Hot food. Okay, so tongue scraping and then hot food. Make sure your food isn't cold, particularly cold. Pure wireless connection. Whoa, I thought I'd lost you there. Chomping down on salads at this time of year seems to be, you know, what most people want to do, but please don't. You know, hot food. Hot food is easier for the body to digest, so you're actually making life a little bit easier for Agni. Think about having a cold, hard, dry, grated carrot. And then think about having a lovely steamed soft carrot. Which one is going to be easier for your body to digest? Makes sense, doesn't it? Okay. Chew your food. Now, there's a member of my family, I mention this to every single mealtime. It seems to go down his gullet without even touching the sides. So chew your food, and there's a number of reasons why that's good. A, it means you will actually taste and enjoy your food, but it's a really important part of the digestive process. You're starting to break your food down, and your body is then able to send messages, your brain, to your gut to tell it what enzymes to secrete to start the digestive process. If you're just knocking it back, it's going to take a long time to digest, and you're going to throw your Agni into complete and utter chaos. So chew your food. Okay. Eat sitting down. Guilty as charged, between meetings, in the car, rushing about, quick sandwich, blah, 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 blah. We've all done it. We all do it all the time. But in this time when we have all the time in the world, eat sitting down. Eating on the move is so bad for our digestion. I can't tell you how bad it is for our digestion. But what it also does, it means that we can eat with our eyes. You've heard many, many times. Yeah, back to science of common sense. You can see the texture, you can smell the food, and it means you will eat it more mindfully. And if you eat your food more mindfully, it will take longer to digest. And you will also realise that you are full and you will stop eating. Okay, so make it a really, really nice sensory experience. And this is a bit controversial, but eating your largest meal in the middle of the day. We kind of come from a society where we have breakfast, lunch and dinner, and it's kind of difficult with our working patterns to kind of get away from that. But if you can, make your largest meal in the middle of the day. I've talked about Agni, yeah? Agni means fire. Now, the manifestation, the greatest manifestation of fire that we have is the sun. That's the biggest ball of fire that we know, that we recognise. That's the biggest manifestation of Agni. So when the Agni in the sun is at its highest, then your digestive Agni is going to be at its strongest. So eat your food then, and then your digestion will be able to process the food so much better. Okay, I could talk about Agni, I could talk about eating protocols all day. We don't really have the time. But interestingly enough, we eat 3 meals a day because we have got ourselves into that habit after industrialization. But in India, when I was there, I ate 2 meals a day. 2 meals a day, and I didn't feel hungry. And again, just to kind of, lighten things up a little bit, again, there's another Ayurvedic proverb which says, one who eats once a day is a yogi, one who eats twice a day is a bogi, one who eats 3 times a day is a yogi, is a rogi. So once a day yogi, twice a day bogi, 3 times a day a rogi. Once a day means you are a yogic person. Yeah, you only need 1 meal a day because you're so chilled. Twice a day means you're a worker, so you need a little bit more food. And 3 times a day, you're a rogi, you're a sick person, you need the nourishment. There's also a 4th one that isn't mentioned very often, which is a drohi, which means you're a menace to society. You can work that one out for yourself. Okay, so eat your main meal at lunchtime and then have a nice light supper, a nice soup or something like that. No iced water or drinks. Ayurveda does not like cold drinks. Think about it. Common sense. If your digestion is called agony and it's called fire and you pour cold water on a fire, what happens? Your fire goes out. In other words, your digestion will slow down. It will impact on the ability of your body to digest your food. So no iced drinks. Okay? Simples. Okay. But what we can also do to support our digestion is incorporate more spices into our diet. And if you can incorporate fire cider vinegar into your diet, you get extra Ayurvedic and yogic points. Spices are medicine. My daughter and I, when we were in India a couple of years ago, just for fun, we went and did a kind of cookery course learning Indian street food. I've got some of the recipes. I can share them with you at some point. But we were given a list of spices before the cookery course started, and what the list of spices didn't just say was that here's cumin, here's coriander. It actually told you what the medicinal benefits of each of the spices were. So in India, this is part of their DNA. This is their daily life. They don't even think about it. They just know what to throw in food and why. Okay, this is the best spice that you can get for yourself right now. Ginger. Ginger, ginger, ginger. Put it in everything. Slice it up, chuck it in water, make a tea. Grate it, get it in your curries, get it in your, everything. Even like cutting little bits and chewing it before you have a meal. It's going to be the best thing that you do for your digestion. Unfortunately, because it comes from China, it's really, really hard to get by. I am down to my last bit. So if anybody knows where you can get any, then please, 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 please let me know. If you can't get hold of fresh ginger, then you can get powdered ginger. It is actually more heating, but we know that ginger fights infection, especially colds and flus. We know it's antibacterial, but it also inhibits the growth of drug-resistant bacteria, and that's the thing that interests me more than that. Okay, so get ginger into your diet. Oh, somebody has lost their connection, Rosa. Oh, hopefully you can get it back again. Okay, hopefully we're back online now. Garlic, interestingly enough, garlic and onions in Ayurveda are treated like medicines. We chuck onions and everything, but you actually don't see very many onions in Ayurvedic, in Indian food, in authentic Indian food. Garlic is a prebiotic. It basically contains about 100 distinct phytochemicals, and therefore, these 100 phytochemicals have a massive anti-inflammatory effect. But one of the things that we actually do wrong in the West, again, which I didn't know until I went to India and started studying Ayurveda, is that the insides of garlic, the flesh of garlic, needs to be exposed to the air for these phytochemicals to actually start doing their thing. So when you crush your garlic, when you're going to cook and you're going to crush your garlic, crush it and leave it for 5 or 10 minutes to let the air get it to it, and then these chemicals will be released. But hugely anti-inflammatory, so get as much garlic as you can in your diet. And you know all about heart health and all these things as well. And then haldi, the golden spice, turmeric. Antiviral, again, it's a major inflammasome inhibitor. So this NLRP3, it will attack it. Always cook and eat turmeric with black pepper, because it's actually, and you'll know about there, some of you have heard of curcumin that's in turmeric. It's really difficult for our bodies to absorb, so always eat it with black pepper. And if you can eat it with ghee, even better. And I absolutely worship ghee. Ghee is just the nectar of the gods, as far as I'm concerned, and everybody else is. And ghee, actually, somebody was asking me about this the other day, and you'll have seen again on the, on my Facebook page that I make my own ghee, but you can actually buy it in Tesco's. I'm sure other supermarkets do as well, but in Dumfries and Galloway, the only place I've found it is in Tesco. So, yeah, you can get hold of ghee, and that's a good way to absorb your turmeric, and just for cooking in general. Ajwain, caraway seeds. Use them like cumin seeds, and sometimes you'll see them in Indian restaurants that they'll have the seeds there, and you chew them like fennel seeds, because again it kind of stimulates your digestion. But they also have an anti-inflammatory effect, and they also support your respiratory system. So particularly, even though there are lots of spices that you can use to support your Agni, because of that respiratory effect, caraway seeds are very, very good in combating COVID. That makes sense. And then cinnamon, yum, 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 yum. Put it in everything. Put it in your tea, put it in your porridge, put it in everything. We know that cinnamon has an effect on lowering blood sugar, so it's very, very good when fighting diabetes, etc., etc. But the lesser known properties of cinnamon are that it is antimicrobial. And I don't ever usually find that really easy to say, antimicrobial. It has antifungal effects, and it's also anti-inflammatory, and it inhibits bad bacteria. It stops bad bacteria getting through. So cinnamon and everything that you can. So those are the kind of key spices. And then we move on to Dravya Guna, which are basically herbal supplements. And some of these things, the things that I mentioned before are all kitchen cupboard things. The things that I'm going to mention now are not kitchen cupboard things. These are like Ayurvedic medicines, but the herbal medicines, they don't need to be prescribed. You can buy them over the counter. I don't think you can buy many of them in Dumfries, but you probably will be able to buy them where you are. You can certainly buy them over the internet, but buy from a reputable company. So the first one is, and I've brought them with me so that I can put them up to the screen so that you can see them, although I've just thought it'll be in reverse, won't it? Okay, so this is Amla, also called Amalaki or Indian gooseberry. It's one of the major properties of an Ayurvedic jam called Chyawanprash. I can never say that either, and I've not got my teeth in tonight, which is basically a herbal kind of jam. Again, you can buy it over the internet. It's really, really nice. And Chyawanprash is given to kids, but again, this is a really, really good one for boosting your immune system. So Amla or Amalaki. Cod liver oil, I don't have any of that. I don't take it myself, but some of you might have it, might take it. And again, it's an old-fashioned remedy. It's not particularly Ayurvedic, but it is mentioned in Ayurveda. It's a rich source of vitamins A and D. Again, both of these vitamins boost our immune system. Elderberry, we're coming into the season where elderberry flowers are going to be coming out, and then later on in the season there'll be elderberry berries themselves that you can make a really nice decoction from. You can buy them dried, you can buy them fresh over the internet, and lots of research has shown that these are really, really good drinks, things to have in the very, very early stages of a viral infection. It can stop it can stop it in its tracks, if that makes sense. So any elderberry kind of syrups and things that you can get your hold of, watch your sugar content. And again, if we're still going on and the elderflowers are kind of coming out, then, go out there and grab yourself. It grows like weeds in the hedgerows. Honey, didn't bring any honey with me because you know what honey looks like. And we know that honey is good for, sore throats and coughs and colds, Manuka being the creme de la creme. But what I would say for honey is buy locally. Try not to buy the mass-produced stuff in the supermarkets if you can, because we don't know how ethically that's being produced, and the world needs its bees. So if you can buy it as locally sourced, pay a little bit more for it, it really is worth it. The taste will be better. And it also means that the bees have made the honey from flowers that have been pollinated locally. So again, with, plants and pollen that you're familiar with, okay? And interestingly enough, honey combined with garlic is an incredibly powerful thing. The pungency of garlic is kind of like softened by the sweetness of the honey. So what you can do is you can actually chop it up. I can give anybody a recipe if you're interested. Chop it up, put it in the honey, and you can keep it for, sometimes it lasts up for 2 years apparently. I never kept it for 2 years, so I wouldn't know. But it's really, really good for a sore throat, for coughs and all the rest of it. And again, it's just incredibly nourishing, so it's good. Where are we? This is ashwagandha. Ashwagandha. This is an ojas builder. We're going to talk about ojas a little bit more, but this really is an ojas builder. It's a nervine, so it reduces stress. You can put it in teas and things like that if you're struggling to sleep. It's a really nice herb to take at night. The anupana, the way we take ashwagandha, can be with milk, and that makes it incredibly more relaxing, and that's what makes it an ojas builder. It will build your immune system. It also increases, I understand, the white cell activation. So in other words, these helper cells that can help your immune system can be helped even more with taking ashwagandha. And then we have tulsi. Can you see that? Tulsi. Tulsi is basically holy basil. Yogi teas do a really nice tulsi tea. It's not the basil that we make pesto from. It's really high in antioxidants. It's antibacterial. It's antiviral. It's antifungal. It's anti-everything. So if you can get some of this bubba into your life, it will just generally help your resilience a little bit more. And then last but not least, there are lots of herbs, but these are the ones that I just want to focus on today. This is triphala. Can you see that? Triphala. Yeah. Yes, Gillian, honey and turmeric straight, brilliant for coughs and colds. Triphala is 3 fruits. Amalaki, Bibitaki, Harataki. And I just like saying that. Amalaki, Harataki, Bibitaki. And probably one of the most strongest, the most used, the most worshipped digestive herb. It's a really, really good thing. If you're a little bit constipated, just can take some regular triphala. It has a prebiotic effect, which is why I'm mentioning it today, and it's also an immunomodulator, another word that I struggle to say, immunomodulator. So it is the main digestive herb of Ayurveda. So again, if you can get yourself some triphala powder or tablets, then fill your boots, because these will all help to build your Agni, which will build your Ojas. So I want to just touch on the importance of Ojas. So Ojas is the end product of our digestion. So we're eating a healthy diet, we're stimulating our Agni, we've got spices in our diet, and we've got some of these Ayurvedic medicinal herbs in our diet. So everything's great. How do you know your Ojas is strong? Your skin looks great, your eyes are sparkling, your nails are great, your energy levels are fabulous, and that means your Ojas is high. It's the end product of our digestion, which means that when we take in food, according to Ayurveda, when we take in food, the body starts to break down the nutrients in the food, and these then go to create the 7 tissues: Rasa, Rakta, Mamsa, Meda, Asti, Maja and Shukra. And I just said that for all my fellow Ayurveda students out there, so that they can say, yeah, she knows her 7 tissues. But basically we're talking about plasma, blood, muscle, fat, bone, bone marrow or sensory tissue, and reproductive tissue. And then when the food has used all the nutrients it needs to make all those 7 tissues, it then creates Ojas. And there are 2 types of Ojas. The first one is basically the cat with 9 lives. You have a certain amount of it, okay? And when it's gone, it's gone. The second type of Ojas is the kind that we develop through our food, okay? So we have control over the second one. We don't have control over the first one. But when the Ojas is depleted in your body, particularly the one that you're born with, the cat with 9 lives Ojas, when it's gone, it's gone. And that's end of life. Okay, so you have to look after your Ojas. And one of the big things that, if you take anything in excess that is against the qualities of Ojas, like if you drink too much, if you smoke, if you take drugs, again, common sense, you will shorten your lifespan. So healthy, 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 healthy. And we know that COVID is a Kapha, an Ojas disease, because Kapha, one of the seats of Kapha, is in the lungs. Okay, and we know COVID attacks the lungs, which is why it's really, really important to keep ourselves in balance to be able to combat and stop OJAS from being under threat. So there are particular foods, again, that you can take to build your OJAS. And one of the first ones is dairy. Really good quality dairy, particularly milk. And I've got a really nice recipe for an OJAS building milk. Again, I'll maybe look that out and post that after this is finished. Raw nuts, a handful of raw nuts every day. And these are all obviously good foods for building your immunity as well. Honey, we've talked about. Dried fruits like dates and prunes and raisins. Again, they've got fibre in them, so they're going to do you good. Fruits and vegetables, particularly things like, again, high in fibre, like sweet potatoes, courgette, stuff like that. Freshly squeezed orange juice, again, we've talked about that in relation to fibre and supporting your gut lining. And there are certain Ayurvedic herbs and tonics that will build OJAS as well, Guduchi, Gotu-kola, things like that. But we'll focus on the foods: dairy, nuts, honey, good fruits and vegetables, and freshly squeezed orange juice. Okay, so that's the kind of food side of it. How are we doing for time? What's the time? Oh, we're okay. We're okay. That's the kind of food side of it. And food is medicine, so it was really important that we spent a little bit of time talking about that. But let's just move on to other things that we can do to boost our immune system. Sunlight. I mentioned before that we are part of nature, the universe is nature, the 5 great elements, Pancha Mahabhuta, and we need to recognize that we are nature and nature is us. So the more time that we can spend in nature, the better we are going to feel. It's like being out there with our brothers and sisters. Okay, that sounded a little bit hippie, but you know what I mean. Particularly sunlight, getting out in sunlight. There is a temptation in a pandemic to just pull the duvet over your head, stick on Netflix, get a bar of chocolate and just stay there for the lockdown period. We're here for another 3 weeks, people, so we need to get outside. The weather is gorgeous. Get yourself out for at least 20 minutes a day. And even if you can't physically get outside for whatever reason, stick your head out the window. You know, there are things that you can do, but particularly if you can get out, that's even better. Exercise. It's quite a kind of mute one, but again, about 20 minutes of exercise a day. Ayurveda likes you to exercise until your forehead is moist. That's how they describe it. When your forehead is moist, that's when you've done enough exercise. But you know what? Nowadays, any exercise is going to be, even walking. We talked before about our Paleolithic, I'm struggling to say some words tonight, Paleolithic ancestors who ate all that fibre, yeah. They also did high intensity impact training, HIIT training, yeah, where you do short bursts and then rest, short bursts and then rest. That's a particularly good form of exercise to do right at this moment in time. Yoga is incredibly powerful as a form of movement, and to be honest, one of the things I'm loving about lockdown is having so much more time to spend on my mat. So whatever your exercise is, whatever floats your boat, just do it. Sauna and sweating is a really important part of rasayana in Ayurveda, in Ayurvedic therapies. Sauna would be a really lovely thing, but I don't want you, obviously your local health spa is probably going to be closed down right now, well, it bloody well should be, but sweating is really, really important. So even having a really hot shower or having a really hot steamy bath, again, what that does is it slows down and shortens the frequency of colds and flus, etc. And so having a hot steamy bath or a hot steamy shower will probably have the same kind of effect. Nausea. Again, this is an Ayurvedic rasayana. So nasya, just so you can see, N-A-S-Y-A, this is a nasya oil. And basically what you do with a nasya oil is and this is a herbal medicated oil, it's not just any kind of oil, is basically you put drops up your nose and then sniff it up. Again, it's a particular technique, so again, I can do a little demonstration of that if anybody's particularly interested. But these have herbs in them, so they're good for rhinitis, sinusitis. It lubricates the nasal passages, and some people find it reduces anxiety as well. But again, because it's medicated, if there's any bad boys in there, it's going to help try and kind of get them out. And then, of course, there is this, the neti pot. If you've never seen a neti pot, this is what a neti pot looks like. They come in all shapes and sizes. And basically the neti pot, yeah, you fill it with salt, warm salt, body temperature water, lean over the sink, pour it up one nose and out the other nostril, the other nose, out the other nostril, and then upside down, blow, 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 blow until it's dry. It's really not a good idea to start neti without somebody showing you how to do it. And again, I could probably do a video demonstration if anybody's really, really interested. But what you're effectively doing is giving your nose a saline wash. So again, if there's any bad boys in there, this is going to get rid of it. What you can do to be a really powerful practice is put nausea and neti together. You know, if there's anything up there, it's gone. Okay, so that's nausea and that's neti. And then the next thing is oil pulling. Last but not least, oil pulling. It sounds horrendous, but it's the most simple thing. And again, it's something that I do in the morning while I'm emptying the dishwasher. Okay, simply melt some oil. It can be sesame oil. I use organic coconut oil. Melt it, about a teaspoonful, heaped teaspoonful, put it in your mouth, and then for about 5-10 minutes, or as long as you can. If you can do it for longer, great, but it usually takes me 5-10 minutes to empty the dishwasher, get my porridge on the go, and then I go and do the rest of my dinacharya. Okay, so what that does is it's going to pull out any toxins that are in your mouth. Okay, it's also really good for your teeth and your gums, so you know, for dental health it's good, but from the purposes of what we're talking about here, immunity, it's going to pull out toxins in your mouth. Okay, so oil pulling. Stress, oh my lordy gordy, stress is a plague as far as the Western goes, and stress really disrupts the regulation of our immune system. It can help these NLRP3 inflammasomes become active. You know, they wake up when you're stressed and they start therefore, you know, attacking the body, and they can increase the severity of viruses. What you're effectively doing in stressful situations is you're activating your sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight mode. And what that's doing is it's sending all the blood from your vital organs to your extremities, to your hands and your feet, and it's saying, get out of there, you are in trouble. And our modern lives means we're in that fight or flight mode for long periods of times, and that's why we start to have digestive problems, we start to have heart disease and all kinds of things. When you're relaxed, yeah, when your parasympathetic nervous system kicks in, you're basically, you know, you're stimulating your body to relax and for all the nourishing blood to come back to your vital organs. And that's where yoga, meditation, pranayama really come into their own, and they will support your immune system. Now, I am not doing any online classes because, quite frankly, doing this tonight has terrified me. And there are other teachers out there that need to do it. This is their only source of income. This is their life, their well-being. So I have already told you about some people who are doing them. There are plenty teachers out there. There are plenty of online classes. We have the time now. Go fill your boots. Do it as much as you can, all day, every day. But if you want me to introduce you to some teachers, then, you know, please let me know, and I'll point you in the direction of those that are doing online classes. And on the back of that, fear and anxiety. When we have good, balanced mental health, our bodies are not in stress mode. So meditation, mindfulness are good practices to be doing at this time in our lives. And Ayurveda, again, I'm not going to talk very much about this, but I could do a whole day on sleep and the circadian rhythm and all that kind of stuff in Ayurveda. But sleep is really, really important for your immune system. Trying to get at least 7 hours a night of really good quality sleep. You should wake up in the morning feeling that you are totally well rested. If you're not, you have not had a good night's sleep. Again, not going to go into any detail, but keep your sleep patterns regular. Again, there's a real temptation now to binge watch Netflix till 2 o'clock in the morning, then go to bed, not get up till 10 o'clock, and then you end up in this kind of vicious cycle. Try not to do that. Try to get to your bed at a really decent time and get up at a really, really decent time. And try not to indulge in electronic devices, phones, you know, TV, laptops, anything like that for at least an hour before. Have your bath then, massage your feet with, you know, do your nausea, your neck, you know, whatever makes you feel good. Have your ojas building milk or your turmeric, your golden milk tea, and that will help you to sleep. But get a really, really good night's sleep. And what that will do is it will reduce the impact of inflammasomes. So again, when you're relaxed and you're rested, the inflammasomes are not going to be active and they're not going to be trying to find their way into your body. And it secretes melatonin, which we know inhibits inflammation and prevents lung injury. So sleep is really, really important. So that's all really, really good. Yeah, that's a lot of good stuff that Ayurveda has in its little Ayurvedic toolkit. But one of the things that I would say probably is going to help you most of all at this point in time is maintaining a positive attitude. Now, I, for one, when this all kicked off, just went into kind of mode. But as the weeks have kind of gone on, particularly now that I'm on holiday, annual leave, is that I kind of try to adopt an attitude of gratitude. And it doesn't matter how you express that. It might be journaling. You might like writing these things down. It might be, speaking to people and saying thank you. It might be the 8 o'clock. Again, we'll need to watch our time. 8 o'clock tonight, the 8 o'clock clap for the NHS. However you express gratitude, express it, okay? And remember the power of smiling and laughing. Yeah, there's so much stuff, taking the total pee out of COVID-19 on the internet, and I'm loving it. I am laughing and laughing and laughing. And it's also nice to remember that when we go shopping, it's such a hairy, scary experience that just smiling at each other means that we're kind of all in this together. It shows solidarity. So we're just about running out of time, so I don't want to keep you anymore, but all that's left for me to say is thank you for joining me tonight. Thank you for your patience. I hope it all made sense, but if it didn't, you have any questions, then please, please, please get in touch. We are all here to support each other, and I'm here to support you in any way that you can, that I can even. So if there are any questions, please get in touch. And I'm not going to stay safe because I know you will. Stay sane, stay healthy. Namaste.